I'm Elsa, welcome to my channel. So today we are doing a what I read in 2024. So compared to other reading YouTubers, I don't read a lot, but I have a couple books, more than a couple books to show you. So I thought I would show you each book I read and give a little rating and what I thought about it. So I have my handy dandy computer here opened on Goodreads so I can remember what I thought about the book. So without further ado, let's start.
By the way, if you were expecting me to give a brief summary about every book, I didn't do that this time, I'm so sorry, but let me know if you want me to do it for next time.
So I started off the year by reading A Little Life, and that would be a lie because I started reading it in August of 2023 and I finished it January 11th. So it took me a long time to read it. It is a big book, so I'll give it that. So I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, and this is what I had to say about it. So I said, my rating might seem controversial, but this book isn't all that. For it to take me almost 3 months to finish it says a lot. I cried a little, but I wouldn't say it touched me at all that much, and that's coming from a sensitive person. The storyline is just sad and rough, but not sobbing sad. It's a hard read for sure, and I wouldn't just recommend it to anyone. The writing is great though, props to the author. So yeah, I thought it was a little too depressing. I would not recommend this book to any depressed person. Next up, I read a classic, which was The Picture of Dorian Gray, and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, which I liked. And I said, okay, why was this good? I love books that make you question life and that make you want to figure out what will happen next. This book was exactly that, and it really made me question Dorian's choices and if what he was doing at times were right or not. Anyway, I'm really happy I read this and recommend it. So, Past Elsa recommends this. So, next I read Beartown by Fredrik Backman, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. So I said, not at all what I was expecting. It was deep and obviously well written. I love Fredrik Backman so much, and I would love to be able to read his writing in the OG language. I also enjoy how every character is focused on, everyone has their own story, lives, etc. Really recommend. Then I read Around the World in 80 Days, which I read it in the OG language because I speak French, by Jules Verne, which is another classic, and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. And my review was in French, but I said that it was kind of a long book, but I kind of liked it overall, so. Then I read Malibu Rising, which I know I am really late to the trend. I was waiting for it to be summer. I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. I said, Taylor Jenkins Reid's books never miss. This was entertaining and easy to read. It wasn't the best book ever, and it took me quite a while to finish, but nonetheless, good book. Then I read another Taylor Jenkins Reid's book, and it was Carrie Soto is Back. And I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars, but honestly thinking about it, I really enjoyed this book. I said, this was so good. From the beginning, I was hooked. Much better than Malibu Rising. I loved her story, how Carrie never gave up, and honestly, I hate sad endings, but this was good. Can't wait to read more of Taylor Jenkins Reid. Then I read The Great Gatsby, which has water all over it. I don't remember what happened, but something about water. And I remember this taking me quite some time to get into. I gave it a 3 out of 5. And I said, alright, so I feel like I wasn't concentrating enough to get the full experience of the book. However, it was very enjoyable and easy to read. I am happy to have finally read this book, because it had been in my TBR for so long. So then I read The Running Dream by Wendelin Van Draanen, and this book I've had since 8th grade, I think, and I've never read it. Or I probably did read it. I read like part of it and then stopped, and then I was like, you know what, it's been in my TBR for forever, let me finally read it. And I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I said, honestly, way better than I thought. I was expecting a bad book, but it was so easy to read. It wasn't the best ever, but still a wholesome and satisfying read. I finally finished the ACOTAR series, which I had been reading for so long. This book is a big brick. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Honestly, I really liked it, and let's read my review. Okay, this book was long but worth it. I really enjoyed this book. I normally have a hard time reading longer books, but how many times am I gonna say book? But this last week, I read almost all of it. The story was engaging, and I have no idea how to pronounce their names, okay? So before you come for me, I have no idea how to pronounce their names. Cashin and Nesta go so well together, and I absolutely love their ending. I just wished Elaine and Lucien would get their own ending. Then I read My Pride and Joy, The House on the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. As you can see, I don't give 5 stars easily, so if I give 5 stars, you know the book is good. I said, this book is so wholesome. I honestly loved it so much. My favorite character was definitely Lucy. I didn't feel the romance between Arthur and Linus. Is that his name? I have no idea how you say it. I never felt that the vibe was there. There are some really good quotes about life in this book though. Next, I read Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Is that how you say her name? I'm so bad at saying names, I'm sorry. And this, I know that I rated 5 stars because it was such a good book. And I have Iron Flame in my TBR right now, and I'm probably not going to read it in 2024, but I'm for sure going to read it in 2025. I said, honestly, completely worth the hype. Such a good book. I was hooked from the beginning to the end. I loved the love story as well as this made-up world. Everything made sense to me. I'm so excited to read Iron Flame. So, talking about books without giving spoilers is kind of hard because I'm just giving an overall view of the book, but the ending, the plot twist was insane. It was a perfect combination of like war and romance. It was really good. Then I read Never Lie by Frida McFadden on my iPad. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars and I said, okay, the plot twist is insane. I honestly thought I had it figured all out, but some part of me was like, this is too easy. If you don't know there's a huge plot twist, I don't think anyone can figure it out. I love thrillers and this just hit the spot. Amazing book and really recommend it. Then again, on my iPad, I read The Housemaid's Secret, the number 2 by Frida McFadden, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. And I did put a spoiler in my review, but I'll read it without the spoiler, so you still get an overview of what I thought. I said, honestly, this book was amazing. I was hooked from the start to the end. I'm normally pretty good at predicting these endings, but I did not see this come. I seriously could not put it down and would have obviously finished yesterday if I didn't get so tired. Then I read Too Late by Colleen Hoover, which was also on my iPad. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars, and I said, this book was okay. I don't have much to say about it because it was what it was. Not life-changing, but not painful either. So honestly, I didn't have much to say on this book. I still don't have a lot to say today. So next book is The Inmate by Frida McFadden, which I also read on my iPad, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. So I said, honestly, this book was really binge-worthy. I read more than half of it at a party, which proves how antisocial I am. Which is a true story, by the way. I liked my ending more than the actual one, to be honest. Okay, and then the rest are all spoilers, so. Next book that I read on my iPad is The Coworker by Frida McFadden. As you can tell, I really love her reads. My favorite genre of books are thrillers, mysteries, anything that relates to that. I love the true crime world. So obviously, I love Frida McFadden because that's all she does. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I said, okay, this was good. I had many theories, but as usual, none of them were 100% right. Anyway, Frida's books never miss, and I will of course be reading more soon. I just think the legal aspect of it is kind of wrong. Since when am I a professional in the legal world? Why am I criticizing it? And then there's just spoilers, so I'm gonna stop there. Then I read Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I'd like to start off by saying that I predicted the ending. Okay. I was a little late in establishing my theory, but I was right nonetheless. This book is a little bit like The Stranger by Albert Camus. I like the setting and the feel that little town has. Then, again on my iPad, I read The Housemaid is Watching, the 3rd of the Housemaid series by Frida McFadden. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, which is crazy, honestly. Frida's books never miss. This one was not her best, but the story was entertaining nonetheless. I, once again, did not see the ending coming, but I guessed part of it. Glad to have read the series. Next, I read The Teacher by Frida McFadden. I know, I read so many of her books this year. And I gave that a 3 out of 5. My review is the following. I was hesitating on whether to give this book 3 or 4 stars. Once again, most of my predictions were wrong. I have to stop predicting that the characters have some sort of disease or disorders like hallucinations or delusions. That prediction is never right. Very fast-paced book and another W for Frida McFadden. Then I read The Reappearance of Rachel Price, again, on my iPad by Holly Jackson. I rated it a 2 out of 5 stars, and here's what I had to say. Okay, not the best. I had really high expectations as A Good Girl's Guide to Murder is now one of my fave books ever. It did not hit the spot. I had to kind of force myself to read it. It was very slow paced, and when the plot and climax was finally getting good, it didn't last long and went back to being slow paced. And then I wrote some spoilers, and then the book was a little less good than average, hence my 2 stars. Would not recommend, but don't regret reading it. Then I read this random book called Escape Room by Maren Stoffels. And this is a really short book. And I remember I woke up one night and I couldn't sleep. So I was like, let me read a really short book. And I did that. And I read it in one night. And I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. I said, I thought this book was pretty basic. Not very long to read. And then I give a little bit of spoilers. I say, I think it was a good read and would recommend. The writing style was not very distinguished, but that was expected as it is a YA book. Then I read The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. And I might get hate for this, but I didn't actually really like it. I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars. I said not at all what I was expecting. I was expecting a little bit better. And then there's spoilers. And I say that I immediately started the second. And I said, I hope it will be better. And then I read the second, The Hawthorne Legacy by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I say, I can't believe I forgot to rate this book.
And I forgot to rate it now. I rated it a 3 out of 5 stars.
Oh, because I probably had forgotten to rate it. I honestly forgot a lot about it. I just remember liking it more than the first. There was more action, but why is it such a slow burn? Then I read The Happy Place. I know I was late, okay, but I have a really good reason. I was waiting for the soft cover. So, funny story right now by Emily Henry is out, right? It's been out. I'm gonna wait till it becomes a paperback because all my Emily Henry books are paperbacks, which I really like. So I read this the day it came out as a paperback, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I said, this was one of the best Emily Henry books. I really connected to the characters and loved the overall friendship. The whole atmosphere and feel of The Happy Place was pleasant as well. Such a good summer read, which, yes please, this is such a good book to read during summer, and if I read it during winter, I don't think it would have hit the same. Next, we're back on my iPad. I read Wildfire by Hannah Grace, and honestly, I just think that the hockey romances are cringy. But I read Icebreaker, and I was like, I can't just not read Wildfire, right? So I read it, and what did I think of it? I give it a 3 out of 5 stars, which is surprising. I said, okay, this book is not all that. I'm tired of reading these types of romances, so it might be for that reason. Someone who enjoys basic romances would love this. On my part, it was fine, well executed, but will not read the third. I'll probably read the third, honestly. I am still happy I read this because it was very wholesome. I also liked how her sister was called Elsa. It's so rare that it was very cool to see my name actually be somewhere. Then I read Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. I read it during my cruise this summer, which really hit the spot, and this is my review. I don't know what about this book was so good, but it really was. The characters were perfectly constructed. The writing flowed so well, it was entertaining yet realistic. The Minnesota vibes were there. Even if it would not necessarily be a state I would live in, the book kind of made me want to. Justin was such a good guy, and I really enjoyed reading about him. So, honestly, a really good book. And the final book of 2024 is Maxton Hall by Mona Caston. And I absolutely fell in love with the TV show. I watched the TV show on Prime and I was like, this is so good. I have to read the book, and the book is not available in English. So I found an audiobook on Audible in French and I listened to it.
And I still didn't give my rating, which was 3 out of 5 stars.
And the ending was so different. The ending was crazy. The TV show made such a good job at making the book into a TV show because it was the exact same thing. But the ending though, like it's probably gonna be at the start of the second season, but it was so different, and I was like in shock when I was listening to it. And that was the last book I read in 2024. I'm currently reading more books, like for instance, I'm reading A Merry Little Meet Cute, which I'm not liking right now. Hope it will get better. And I'm also currently reading on my iPad the third of the Hawthorne brothers, but these will unfortunately not be in my 2024 video. So I hope you enjoyed everything I read. I hope I inspired you to read some of these books. The reason I read all my reviews is because I never remember anything that happens in these books, so I can't give you like an honest review of everything because I forget everything. What I'd have to do is like every time I finish a book, film myself, but that'd be way too complicated. I hope you enjoyed and see you in another video. Bye!